So, a couple of practical realities that I want to talk about, things that the Libertarian Party isn't trying to accomplish. There are branches of the Libertarian Party all over the United States that are fighting various drug laws. And they've made huge steps. Colorado, for example. They helped with that situation for sure. With respect to legalization of marijuana, we definitely want to see medicinal marijuana started first. This is something that I think you'll find anybody throughout the entire Libertarian Party in the country is fighting for pretty vehemently. Texas could easily adopt a policy like Colorado, and I think a lot of people, like myself last year when I was running for the Texas House, that was certainly something that I was campaigning on. Another one, which is very important, is to implement retroactively the reversal of marijuana convictions. I was floored that this was actually implemented in Colorado. It was a wonderful, wonderful thing that happened, and it should happen all over the country. The data from Colorado that we've seen in the last year or year and a half, whatever it's been, has been absolutely wonderful. I'm sure every one of you guys has seen the infographics. I'm not going to libel them off right now. But the situation has been an experiment at best, and it has worked wonderfully. Crime is down. They're making money off the taxation of marijuana and other marijuana-related products. And people are not going to jail for something that doesn't hurt anybody else. So I wanted to very briefly tell a story that happened. I like getting to tell stories when I have the microphone. So I have that opportunity tonight. Some of you may have seen this last year, and if you didn't, maybe it will help you to know where I'm coming from. When I was running my campaign, it was the very beginning of October of last year when this happened, and I had a house cleaner. My house cleaner was mistakenly identified by a neighbor as a suspicious person inside of my house. Now, I'll go ahead and quash the idea that this was part of some sort of conspiracy. It wasn't. It was just something that happened. It was just one of those things. So I got called home to take care of that. Apparently, between the time that I came home and the time that she had started talking with the police officers, they had noticed that they smelled some faint smell of marijuana coming from the house, which was odd because the fact of the matter is I really didn't have any marijuana inside of the house. Regardless, these two officers saw themselves into my house when I wasn't there. They detained my maid. From what I understand, they actually, because they're not allowed to search your belongings any longer just because of the smell of something, they decided that instead what they do is they say that they're afraid for their lives. They don't know who else is in the house. So as my house cleaner would later tell me, they drew their weapons and they wandered through my entire house. Again, I wasn't there to see this, but that was the experience. When I finally did get home, rather than explaining the situation that she's not a suspicious person, that this is in fact my house cleaner and she was allowed to be there, I was detained inside of my own home. Now, I had the fortune of getting the experience on camera. I was a little surprised that they let me do that, but I did. They started asking me a bunch of questions about who I was, all this other sort of thing. Of course, I had posters and all sorts of campaign memorabilia all over the house, so I was certain that they knew exactly who I was. And I let them know that when the whole situation was done with, there were no charges filed, there were no drugs in the house, basically nothing happened. Basically, all that I experienced was that the authorities came into my house, detained me for roughly 10 and 15 minutes, and left. I couldn't have left during that time period, though. They were very clear about that. I tried to call an attorney. They stopped me from calling the attorney in the middle of it. This is a serious situation that actually occurred. Now, sometimes I get mixed results saying this, but I want to be clear about this. From what I was saying earlier, I have an education, I have a reasonably decent job, and I was running for Texas House of Representatives when this situation happened. I'm educated enough to understand what the law is. I have the money and the resource to deal with something should it happen, and I actually was running for a state house position. Even with those things, this sort of thing still happens. Now, I'm not saying that I shouldn't be targeted over somebody else, but the experience to gain from here is what would have happened if I didn't have those things going for me? What would have happened if I didn't have the resources to deal with this? Or if I didn't have those campaign flyers all over my house, the big giant buttons? What would have happened? Probably, in all likeliness, I would have been hauled off to jail and I would have had to deal with it. Would I have been arrested? Who knows? But would I have been charged? I don't know. I don't know what would have happened, but this is what's happening. And the reason that I bring this up is because I want to tell you that this isn't a story that just happened on YouTube. This isn't just something that happened. This happened in Austin, Texas to a person who was actively running for the Texas House of Representatives not 10 months ago. This is a real story that really does happen. And this is exactly part of the failure of the war on drugs that everybody in this room needs to be very aware of.